So, hi everyone. My name is Vas, and I'm founder and CEO of Loads Plant. And I'm super happy to talk with you guys about the delivery and digitalization of delivery and the whole turbulence that's happening right now, and how restaurateurs are overcoming this turbulence. So essentially, the presentation is called Delivery, and how restaurants are transforming to overcome the crisis. And what we wanted to do in this presentation is to let me actually, it's right there. So what we wanted to do in this presentation is to present a couple of success stories that show how all those brands, different brands all around the world, are overcoming the crisis. And what I really want to do is really not to make it in any sort of sales pitch or something. Not talk about features and products and why you should choose this solution over that, but really talk about some talk about the recipe for success, the secret sauce for success, and that's what we will be doing today. So before that, a couple of things why I'm making that presentation, because those things I would say are important. So first of all, many years ago, about 10 years ago, I founded the company while working in mobile industry as a software developer. And one day I just got this another flyer on the street and thought about the way we are interacting with those businesses, and I was interacting with those businesses, and came up with the idea that it has to change. So from this moment, I've been building the company with a mission and the belief that all the innovators on the restaurant market who are really truly caring about the customer experience and creating outstanding customer experience, those folks really deserve the tools to achieve some game-changing, awesome business results and get their business to the next level. And that's that's one of the examples. It's Asian fusion fast casual chain in the United States. Actually, one of our clients who originally were almost unknown to the US market, and then they became number 5 brand, basically number 5 brand in the United States. So definitely made some progress. So I wish everyone on this call and everywhere, all the restaurateurs, all the innovators, will achieve the same results. So by game-changing business results, we mean the following. Let me explain that a bit. We mean that it's a transformation from being not significant restaurant brand in the market and becoming really the hottest brand in the country. And not just by doing some crazy PR, but really achieving some meaningful numbers by investing in some digital solution and achieving some meaningful numbers, like having a huge penetration of that digital solution app, in this case, increasing the check, having a nice conversion for campaigns to win back customers, and at the end of the day, achieving year-over-year revenue growth after having a stagnation of the revenue. So those are examples of what we mean by game-changing business results. But that would be for like the time of peace, for a much more difficult time in which we are all right now. I would say the success would be basically the survival and keeping your brand, and at least keeping with the revenue level that I used to have before, and we're still fighting for that. So that's how we define the success right now. At least achieve that. So all those insights are coming from our international experience working with customers, including, for example, Papa John's in UAE and some other customers all around the world, and also achieving some great numbers for them, achieving huge penetration with the app. Huge customer base, conversion from light users to heavy users, awesome app ratings, and at the end of the day, the most important thing is growth of the revenue. So I'm showing that to just maybe tell that all those insights are not just randomly created. They're actually coming from real customers, real restaurants all around the world, And so we managed to get some nice traction and launch all those, all cities all around the world. So all those case studies are coming from all those different countries. And actually, some of those countries they used to have this crisis time before UAE. So we got some experience from that. So right now, what we see is that businesses are generally experiencing one of two outcomes from this crisis time. Is one of those outcomes that's just like 90% of revenue evaporated, and the other is there was minimal revenue loss as a business because of business leverage, some tech-driven channels to serve customers, most of the time direct channels. Also not to lose huge chunk of revenue to aggregators, and the result is just what you see on the right side of the screen. We obviously are going to show a couple of examples, a couple of real life examples, but the goal of this presentation is not just show some stories of success, but mostly try to explain what was the reason for the success and what's the recipe for success at the end of the day. So so what we want to do here is to show here some examples, and later we will explain how those folks managed to achieve those examples. Well, first of all, it's clear that restaurants who were focused on delivery like from day one really grow their revenue if they do the right thing. And if we look at different countries, like for example Great Britain, the UK, we would see that despite the quarantine measures that were enforced in the UK, we still see that those folks managed to even grow despite all those quarantine measures. And that's that's considering the situation that in UK, as with many other countries, really the restaurant market is really dying out because of this quarantine. So by using the right tools, those folks were able to achieve growth. The next thing would be other Japanese food delivery, in some other parts of the world, and also where some quarantine measures happened, and they achieved even bigger growth, around 30%. And trust me, in that country, Russia in this case, really the loss of the revenue for the market has just been tremendous. It's something around 70% or even 80% overall in the country. So achieving growth, it's kind of nice during those times. Also, but for those folks, they used to have delivery all the time, so they're focused 100% on delivery. They have all those direct channels implemented, so it was an easy thing for them. But what about that customers who used only in-store, used to do only in-store orders and didn't do any digital ordering? We mean DO, digital ordering before. So that's a bit more complicated scenario. And if you jump to the other part of the globe here, to the US, with the Pan Asian food restaurant chain, 5 locations in Ohio State. So they also had some quarantine measures, and as you know, in the United States, it's even more devastating than in any other country in the world. And there are extreme unemployment, and people really don't have money, and there was an extreme devastation in the restaurant market. So as you see, if you look at those blue thing, which would be in-store revenue, and the green thing, which would be digital ordering revenue, they had a challenge to transform this blue bars into green bars. So, and as soon as those measures were enforced, if we look at the cohort of users who were only using in-store orders and never used digital orders before, we see that around 60% of those only in-store users were able to convert to digital ordering revenue. And the reason why I'm showing this is that there is a huge concern from restaurateurs nowadays that yeah, okay, I have this, delivery thing, but it's not 99% of my revenue. Most of the customers I used to just walk in and eat. And those customers have their habits, and they would not just convert into my ordering channel app, like whatever that would be. So what we see is that if you do the right thing, a huge number of those customers will be able to convert. And that's why those folks are also seeing a revenue increase, thanks to the those measures, to this secret sauce they applied to the business. Also, another example would be other customer which has a huge influence of in-store orders. So a lot of orders weren't digital ordering, weren't delivery, and almost half of the revenue really were dependent on those in-store orders. So those folks were able to also convert huge number of those in-store orders into digital ordering, into delivery, and here is the result. Also, the other example would be a bit closer to you guys in UAE with the restaurant chain out there. And the biggest concern was that this brand in particular was focusing on in-store traffic a lot, and they focused a lot on in-store experience. And as you hear from time to time, they were saying, okay, we're not selling just food; we're also selling the experience and the service, and that's a huge part of what we're selling. So for them, delivery wasn't such a huge part of the business. It was huge, obviously, but not overwhelmingly huge. So in this case, what they were able to do is really to transition almost 40% of that in-store revenue into delivery revenue, which is quite exciting. I mean that for the customer who didn't place a single delivery order, single digital order before, they were able to convert 40% of that revenue and convert it to digital ordering, and that's that's growing. So that was the main interest for our team, to look at the conversion of the in-store only customers to digital ordering, and those are the numbers we see. Other example is the folks who didn't have any delivery like whatsoever. They just had some some minor traction with aggregators. Again, not hugely investing in that. Wasn't expecting any quarantine to happen. Weren't even thinking about that, and we're just like having huge lines in their stores, and we're super excited about having huge lines, and thought that that's a recipe for success. But right now, no lines at all. So the folks launched the I would say they launched delivery as an extreme measure, like within just a couple of days, and we're able to convert about 33% of that in-store only, never ordering delivery before type of customers. So, and those things are obviously growing, and as the days roll on, more and more customers are converting, more and more in-store only customers are converting to delivery. And the question is how, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So what the other example, maybe the last example here would be example of how quickly this this ordering channel, direct ordering channel, could really change the way how the business operates. Just another example in other part of the world, a 35 location food trucks and restaurant national franchise network have this crazy growth with customers and orders, and also were able to convert their eating revenue to mostly 98% pickup revenue, and also because of the quarantine measures enforced in the US. And just imagine, food trucks used to be this location type of thing, and those customers were walking in, and then in this time they're just like ordering from the app, and that would help them to achieve quite significant growth in those digital orders, starting from almost nothing. So what I've shown to you is just a couple of examples of businesses who are really not not giving up, and what we wanted to do then is to talk about the secret sauce that we think all those customers use to achieve those results. So we came up with this 10 pieces formula to share with you, and to be happy if those things would be helpful for you. So first of all, the first piece of advice we would like to share is really continue using aggregators, but launch your own delivery channel, direct delivery channel in parallel. So we're not saying let's kill all those aggregators in the world, but what really happens sometimes is that restaurateurs are just launching their own delivery, and they're kind of hesitant that it would work because they had some experience with aggregators and they're not seeing a huge feedback from huge traction for them for those channels. Usually, what we see for restaurants who are just launching those aggregators, it looks like this: like, hey, we have this quarantine, we need to launch delivery ASAP, and then they launching delivery, digital ordering, delivery with aggregators, and they see that their restaurant is 15th in the list. And after that, they're getting about 3 orders a day from aggregator. And it's important to understand what sometimes happens with restaurateurs who are just launching those aggregators like from nothing at this point. And this kind of tells a bit on how those aggregators really work with your customer base. So then what happens is the restaurateur says, okay, I need more orders. Let me tell to my customers that we are on Talabat or Uber Eats, and let them know about this delivery channel because we need more delivery. So then they're just doubling the numbers of orders, but they realizing more and more and more is that those customers who are ordering from those aggregators are just their customers. So the brand initially told them about this aggregator channel, and they're just converting from their users to aggregator users. So this essentially leads to 3 major challenges here. First of all, basically what you're doing by advertising an aggregator, you're basically sending a loyal guest to a catalog where you're just like one brand in a huge list, and there is a risk that the customer will go to a competitor. Basically the communication with your guest is really managed by another company. You can't do some of those smart marketing things we are going to talk about a bit later in this presentation, and you just can't. So you won't be able to control this thing, and you won't be able to use smart tools to get from 3 orders per day to 300 orders per day. So you will not just have the control over this. Also you pay up to 35% or even maybe sometimes less, but generally it's around this magic 30% commission rate, and you're paying that from your own guests. So the point here is use your own delivery channel and really invest in that channel. The key question that sometimes restaurateurs are raising is, okay, I'm about to launch this app of mine, but why people are going to use this app, or is going to be successful because all those aggregators, they're investing tons of money into those revenue, tons of money in terms of their revenue into fueling up their customer base and fueling up those orders, giving customers huge discounts. So how are we going to overcome? How are we going to fight with that? So, and the truth is that what really, if you really look at the numbers, if some of you still have the concern that your app would not be downloaded and people would not use direct channel, just let's look at the numbers, which say that there were like 204 billion apps downloaded in 2019, just this year. And if you look at, if you look at the more detailed statistics of how many apps were downloaded in your particular country, you would see that this number is astonishing. And that would mean that on average, if you include every person in your country, in the world, even 1-year toddlers, you would have at least 20, 26, 27 apps per person downloaded. So just don't say to me that there couldn't be one app among those 26 each year. Don't say to me that couldn't be your app. So what we see more and more is that there is absolutely not a problem to make your customers to download your app, even if you're not #1 brand in the world, Burger King, because those folks would download the app not because you're huge, but because they really love you. They're really loyal to you. They loved your food before, so they would download the app because of that. The question is how to make sure that they would keep this app, how to make sure that they would actually interact with this app. And there are some secret sauce, pieces of the secret sauce to that. But essentially, the more and more we look at the different app projects launched in different parts of the world, we see that it's not so hard to achieve huge penetration. And by penetration, I mean like out of 100 orders per day, how many customers would actually use the app in the process of ordering. And it's not so hard to achieve some huge penetration numbers, 50%, 75%, if you're doing the right thing, if you're following the secret sauce to achieve those numbers. Also, what really happens when those brands are launching their app, their own personalized branded app, is that just after a couple of months, the huge chunk of orders from those aggregators are converting to direct orders, where you're not paying the commission. And obviously this thing is even way, it's way more significant right now after those businesses really started to promote their apps and convert even more aggregator users to their own app users. So it's not such a hard thing to do if you do the right thing. Another I would say myth would be that it's super hard to launch your own solution, your own direct delivery channel, because you have to develop an app, you have to work with your own fleet of couriers and stuff like that. So actually, the truth is that it's not so hard to do. So there are some platforms on the market which allow you to launch your own white label app in a very short period of time, something around 1 week or just maybe a couple extra days, and mostly it's just app store review, so it's quite easy to do that. Also, it's sometimes really convenient if you had a lot of in-store traffic, which is supposed to be the most painful thing, is when you used to have most part of your biggest part of your revenue dependent on in-store traffic, and you don't know like what to do next, like what to do with those waiters of yours who are basically out of business, out of work. So what more and more restaurateurs are doing is converting those employees into couriers, and it works quite well. Those folks are really the best couriers in the world possible for you. And also there are a lot of solutions for courier management. And actually, it's quite surprising that not a lot of restaurants really are aware of that. There are a lot of there are some good POS providers who have courier management software included in their POS. So basically, they have apps for their which you give away to your couriers, and it automates everything. Even if you have a huge fleet of, say, like 50 or 70 couriers, and those apps are automating all of them. And also, obviously, you have third-party courier services, which are not charging a percentage from the order amount. They're just like charging you something like 5 dirhams for per delivery. So that's way more cost efficient than those aggregators. So the main point here is that it's actually not quite hard to launch your own solution. So you absolutely should do that, and don't be afraid about all the challenges on the way. Also, I'm talking about apps most of the time. Well, one of the reasons that we that's the experience we have, and also is just basically when we see at all those success stories of brands who survived, who are surviving this quarantine, we basically see that most of the time is because of apps. And the reason for that, I will explain that a bit later, is mainly because of the power of personalized communication at the right place at the right time with the right customer. And that's ultimately the app is the only channel that really can give you that proactive, personalized communication comparing to website chats and any other platforms. So so that was the first device, stepping into the fight and start developing your own channel of direct ordering. The next thing would be to own the communication with your customers and manage communication with your customers, which the biggest problem with aggregators is not even that they're charging you 30%, is that you're not controlling the communication at all. And aggregators, most of the time are just like black boxes for you, and you just can't even know like how other guys like visiting often or not, like other guys like what cohorts of customers do we have, and how you just don't have any means to communicate with them. So what you should do based on all those success stories and many more stories like that, first of all, you have to collect your customer base and communicate with those customers directly. You have to understand what is happening with your customers. You have to collect customer data. You have to analyze demographics. You have to analyze those segments of customers and understand that, okay, we have like 60% of customers who are light, meaning they're visiting once a month. We have heavy customers who are ordering at least 3 times a month, because the main reason is that the communication that you're doing should be completely different from for those separate segments. I'm not even saying about lapsed customers, who are usually the biggest part of your customer base, the folks who are not visiting anymore at all. So your communication should be different for those different segments, and you develop a communication plan for all those different categories, different cohorts of customers. So and this is the foundation, because that gives you the opportunity to do all those other things, because if you don't have point number 2, you can't do any of those next steps we're going to talk about. So that's just paramount. So point number 3, make sure you have a very simple and convenient means to place an order. And it may look obvious, but that's actually not something that many brands are doing. What we mean by simple, convenient, and reliable way to make ordering is one of the most important things to have so-called one-click order. So make sure that your customers have an easy way to repeat your order. And the main reason is that customers are quite often they're just repeating their last order, and they're using the same thing as they're doing with Uber, for example. And probably you notice for yourself that quite often with Uber, you're just like repeating the previous order, and the same thing actually happens with customers ordering food. That's what we see from our something around 30 million customers. We see that data that lots of them are just like repeating the same order again and again. So it's important to give them this thing so they will be able to order it right away, in just one click. Also, it's obviously important for them to you should not force them to re-enter the credit card information. Obviously, you should have some upsell functionality to make sure that the check would be higher for your store, and you obviously should have large, awesome, Instagram-worthy pictures in your delivery. And also, our suggestion would be really don't settle for like a minimal solution, which would be super cheap and super quick to implement, but that would not deliver the solution that would not deliver on those key important points. In particular, some brands are trying. What they're trying to do is they're trying to use some shortcuts. They're trying to launch some. They're trying to launch some cheap solution, which gives you just a cheap, website-based ordering when you have. And most of the people are going to that website from the mobile device, and they're just having those, loading thing all the time, and the user experience it's not great. So that's why a higher standard here is to have a native app where you have the native app experience from all the platforms, iPhone and Android. So, and also a quick test that I suggest to all of you, if somebody really has their ordering happening from the website, a good suggestion would be to ask your IT folks to provide you some analytics of how many users are actually ordering from this website, ordering which is supposed to serve desktop customers, how many customers are actually ordering from the mobile devices. And I bet that the statistics that you would see would be quite surprising. And most of the time we see that around 70 or maybe 80% of desktop website users actually just mobile users. So it's quite, the time has changed, and our customers are mobile, and most of those services are really getting all those orders from mobile app users. So that's the way to go. That's why I'm referring to the app most of the time. And it's but the third thing shouldn't be underestimated. It's important to have all those things in place. Otherwise, people wouldn't just order again. And one of the reasons why Talabat and Zomato and all the other services are really highly used, and why people really like to order from them, one of the huge reasons is that they just have nice user interface. And that's the reason why they're choosing those services, because they have nice user interface. And if you want to fight that, you absolutely have to have your own great user interface. So the other thing, suggestion number 4, is optimize your menu for delivery. So here are a couple of other success story examples. One of the brands has this challenge of having this fresh from the oven many items, which are not perfectly delivered, and that's why they were betting most of their business on in-store visits. Usually that happens to burger chains where they have craft burgers or delicious, expensive, more high-end dishes. So and those folks only started with their own delivery, so they had this challenge. And the solution for those folks and some other brand as well was to came up with sort of a DIY kits and some semi-finished dishes. So they came up with this chef sets, which basically means that you're not getting a cooked burger, you're getting a set of like raw meat, buns, and all the other veggies and sauces, separated, and you like gather your family, you're dressing up with those, in those aprons, and the whole family cooks. And it didn't just solve the issue of delivering a well-cooked, a cooked burger quickly. It really solved it really created a whole new experience, because again, lots of restaurants saying, oh, we're not just selling food, we're selling an experience. So there is a way to recreate that experience by doing some smart changes in the menu. In this case, they overcome this by creating a whole new experience when the whole family sits in the kitchen and cooks their own burgers, and that was extremely successful for them. And some of the brands came up with this other thing when the delivering like cook yourself type of food from the restaurant. That worked quite well. So a couple of ideas what you can do, how you could modify your menu to adjust it for huge demand for delivery, and not doing the in-store service at all. Also, some other example would be a brand who had this issue of having a small check, because most of the customers were just like ordering something like one one smoothie or something, and they're just like going away. So it's a small check, small, lots of orders, lots of checks, but they're small. So what they come up with is they really remodel their menu to create those combo sets, like for the whole day, or even for 3 days, like a 3-day combo. Like you have a have a big bag of food for 3 days for a bigger check, and that was extremely successful for them. So those folks were able to transition from this quick place, and they're still surviving with their brand. Also, obviously, for fine dining restaurants, it's a bit more tricky. But based on the experiences that we see, the solution is also just simplify your menu, make it, I would say less fine dining. And what we see is that a lot of those customers who were going on those dinners and buying those expensive dishes, those folks are really comfortable to order a more like simplified dishes from you, as they still have those habits of just like ordering quality food from you. So simplifying menu, worked quite well for lots of brands. With coffee shops, that's probably the most challenging thing here. But there are some examples of coffee ordering working. Again, there are some challenges for sure, but some of the brands have achieved some success. Also, they could just sell some goods, sell some other stuff, which is actually one more idea for usual restaurants. Like some of the restaurants were adding masks to the menu, like adding antiseptics, adding some typical grocery items, like natural grocery items from the farm or something like that. So they were extending their menu and doing some magic on their menu to overcome those challenges. So the main point here is that you have your chef, and use his magical powers to transform your menu to adjust to for the new reality. If you're not doing that, most of the time, most likely, you wouldn't quite succeed if you're not doing that. You have to do that. Don't forget about that, and think about some of those ideas that you shared. So the fifth advice would be to really automate the process. And with some of the brands, we see that they're just launching some different solutions. They have like one POS system where they have their app, which are not quite connected. They have some delivery service, and they're just like sending WhatsApp. WhatsApp, they're just sending location addresses to the couriers. So it's a mess. And I'm not talking about smaller restaurants like 1 or 2 locations, but when you have like 10 locations or bigger than that, you have to adjust to that. So the risk here is really doing a lot of mistakes and having an inconvenient process where you could you could have mistakes in so many parts if you're just like getting those orders via WhatsApp, or you don't have the whole supply chain of this order coming through, and everything is automated. On the other hand, if you have all those things connected, even with the app, with the app on the courier's phone, you really minimize the risks of having that human mistake and the customers are happy. And based on our experience, we see that all of those businesses who were succeeding with those numbers had most of those things really automated. And those businesses who didn't succeed, they had some major challenges. For example, with delivery, they lots of them really had their own fleet of couriers, but they had to write WhatsApp messages to those folks, and there was a huge overhead of how much money they were spending on their own delivery because it wasn't automated, and they just had one courier delivering one delivery within 2 hours, and that's essentially a waste of money. So fifth advice is really automate the process. That's generally for restaurants of 5 locations or more, and there are actually quite good solutions on the market for that. So the sixth point, it's were the most important points on about personalized interaction with your customers, and that's what you need to do to grow from 10 orders per day in your direct ordering channel to 300 orders per day in your direct ordering channel. So first of all, the major important point here is that for this digital channel to work, and the challenge of this crisis is that this usual rule of restaurateur called location, 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 which basically means you're just like opening somewhere and just people are just walking in, it doesn't quite work anymore. So you have to engage with the customers digitally, and you have to make that digital communication personalized, and you have to convert that personalized digital communication into sales. So the secret sauce on how to do that is really to have this communication, have a beautiful way of communicating those, doing that communication, and having that communication personalized. Like for example, in an app, what the successful brands are doing is that they having those nice, beautiful, colorful pictures in the app. Less text, more beautiful pictures, and they're treating this app not just like a tool to create transactions. They don't treat their apps just like like a menu of dishes and just like picking stuff and you're paying with a card and that's it. They're treating their apps as a communication channel, like a direct TV, or sort of like personalized TV for your customer. And by TV in this case, I mean rich content that updates constantly. So essentially, this communication channel where customers are making those orders shouldn't be just like a technical tool to to just pick menu items and do a digital order. It has to be like a fancy magazine that customers are just flipping. They're just flipping the pages and they see beautiful pictures and they're engaged with the content. So that should be the case for your ordering channel. It shouldn't be boring and only transactional. That's super important. And that's a huge mistake that a lot of brands are doing. And they're saying, oh, like why those customers are not ordering for that channel? Well, because there's no life, there's no communication here. So the way to do it right is, for example, for somebody, for a brand which is really focused a lot on on a segment of moms with kids, just have a different communication for those customers. And if we have a different guy, guy millennial and a mom with kids, have a different communication, as you see here in this news and offers section here. So it's extremely important, because if you don't have that colorful, personalized communication, don't expect your customers to order again and again and again, because that would not create this emotional connection with the brand. And that's what we learned, in a quite hard way by trying to first succeed with those delivery channels, but we're not having such great results. And then we did a couple of A/B tests when we comparing this and comparing that, and we learned that this is an extremely important thing. By the way, if you look at one of the most successful apps in the world for ordering, for loyalty, I would say that would be Starbucks app, the US Starbucks app. And one of the main things that you would see in the US Starbucks app, which I obviously encourage you to test, is when you're opening the Starbucks app, you would have your loyalty balance. You would have the order button, but most of the app would be really filled and covered with those beautiful pictures of updatable content, which is personalized to you. So every time you're opening the Starbucks app, it pushes some different content which is personalized just for you, and it has gorgeous, beautiful, gorgeous pictures. And that's the reason why Starbucks is quite successful with those apps. So if we have that foundation, if we have that personalized, Instagram-worthy communication with pictures, and it's really personalized for different users, then to build on top of that, it's extremely important to have that personalized first order bonus to make sure your customers would actually start those orders, because that's the main barrier. How to make sure that those customers who download the app, how to make sure that they would actually do the first order. And sometimes it's just like trying something new, trying something new, it's quite often just challenging by itself for your customers. So you have to do something to kind of move them over that line to make that. So what we recommend is not to give them huge discounts, and we believe that's the wrong way to go. Strategically, when you do giving discounts, you're really discounting your brand, and you kind of making your customers addicted to those discounts. So what we recommend to do instead is to give those customers a personalized compliments. So and here again on those screenshots we have an example of how this personalized offer could look like for different customers. And here we're not talking about some discount personalized offer, we're talking about some compliments. And usually that's something that would just complement the order. Like for example, with this mom with kids type of customer, we would, for example, suggest to give her like a small dessert or like small toy for every delivery order on Sunday for your brief kid or something like that. So don't give them huge discounts like those aggregators are doing. That's the wrong way to go. That's the attempt to buy out the customer. Just learn about your customer and give them something personalized so it wouldn't cost so much for you. And the truth is that if you're communicating the right way with the right customer, then that smaller thing for you, like that cheaper thing for you, would be 10 times more powerful than this huge discount, because it's acts on an emotional level, as opposed to this, trying to buy out the customer, which would never work good strategically. And also the other thing would be to still give customers some compliment for the next order, because a lot of times, okay, you succeeded in making your customer making sure your customer would make their first order, but quite a lot of times you would see customers making their first order but not making the second order, not making a second order. So it's quite often a challenge, and you have to do something preferably automated to make sure that they would get to this next order. Usually it's done by doing some automated coupons that are sent to the customer after the first order. So that's the point, extremely important about personalized communication, and that could really mean a complete difference from not getting orders at all, or getting 100, 300 orders per day, only just this slide with personalized communication with your guests. And again, extremely important to have that communication personalized and visual, not just have a transaction tool for your ordering channel. So the seventh advice would be make sure you strike your iron while it's hot, which essentially means act when you have the right time. Like, and one of those examples would be with birthday greetings. And here's just some thought experiment that I suggest you guys to do, is to that's actually the real example we used to have with one of the restaurant brands, which had 4 locations in one city, and during this quarantine time they had to close 3 out of 4 locations, and kind of combine them into one like shared cloud kitchen type of business. So but the point here is that all those 4 locations were, throughout all those years, all those 4 locations were interacting with lots of customers. There were a lot of customers who were walking in, walking out, and there was some relationship building, during that process. All those, lots of those folks really loved the food, really loved the business, so they, remember something about the brand. So essentially, what they did is that they gathered this, customer base, all together, and they thought that, okay, actually, with those 12,000 customers, most likely, most of them, first of all, we have that kind of shared customer base, and so we have a potential here. And also those customers are they have their family members, some of them have 2 or 3, 4 family members, but let's imagine that would be at least 1 family member. And if we do that math, we would see that that would be 24,000 people in our customer base that we kind of can interact with. So if you do the math, that would say that out of those 24,000 customers, 2,000 would be celebrating birthday each month, because people are usually have birthdays in all those different days in a year. So statistically, there would be 2,000 birthdays in a month, and and that would mean actually 60 potential orders a day with a huge check if you divide that by 30 days. And the point of this slide is maybe to debunk a myth that customers are they have less money. There is crisis, unemployment, and just people are becoming poor, and they can't order restaurant food anymore. They're just like buying their own goods, and they would just cook at home, and that's why we're getting tremendous cut in our revenue, and that's how it's supposed to be. So that's the way to go. In fact, that's not the way to go. And if you really do the math, and if you really think about do this thought experiment, you would understand that there is a huge potential to get huge orders just from those customers celebrating their birthdays. Because say to me that those customers have their purchasing power decreased. Okay, that's fair, but don't say me that those folks would never even with under this quite hard conditions, that they would not order delivery at least once a year for their for their loved ones. Even if they're surviving through those hard times, they would at least do that. So the question is, are you communicating with those customers to get those 60 orders? What are you doing to actually do that, to achieve that result? The first question is, are you collecting the customer base? And we're going to secret sauce item number 1, which is own the communication with the customer. Because if you don't have your customer base, you can't even do anything. You don't even know their birthdays, because that's owned by the aggregator. So the first device comes very handy. And if you don't have that, you just can't send them a birthday greetings, because you don't know when the hell is their birthday, obviously. So the next question will be, do you have a reliable channel of communication with those customers? And by reliable channel, I mean not having a small 0.5% conversion that usually brands are having when they're sending SMS messages or spammy emails. They're going to spam most of the time and just annoying the customer, but some kind of reliable communication channel that really gives you huge conversion. Because out of that 60 potential birthdays, you have to have a huge conversion in order to make sure that most of those folks would actually react to your offer, like, hey, happy birthday, just order from us and get this nice birthday cake with your order. You have to have a good communication channel with good conversion, and we'll talk about that a bit later, to get those 60 orders, or at least a portion of them. So that would be the advice number 7, and to add to that a bit, just an example of what we mean by an effective communication channel, and what we mean by effective campaigns. Another case study of one of the customers who managed to get quite a nice customer base, something around 5,000 customers per one location. So again, going back to the point number 1, collect your customer base and own the relationship with your customer base. So usually huge part of that customers are really not visiting anymore. Those customers are called lapsed guests. It doesn't mean that they hate your brand. It sometimes just means that you just have to do something about it. You just have to communicate something to those folks to ensure that they would be brought back. And you don't have to absolutely give them huge discounts, like it wasn't the case with this particular brand. In this case, they send a small like win back compliment to them, like, hey, we miss you, enjoy a free bubble brew on us, which is actually one of the most cheapest items in their menu. But they managed to get 11% in conversion, and conversion means how many of those customers who they were targeting, how many of them would be brought back. And those customers weren't visiting for 2 months, so those customers were almost like 100% lost. And it happens from time to time. We have millennials and Gen Z generation. Those folks are changing brands like crazy. They're just like today they're ordering from you, and next day they're just like excited about something else, and you lose them. So huge opportunity here is how to win them back. And if you have the right tool for communication, you can win a lot of those folks to bring them back. So in this case, they will manage to generate at least $3,000 in incremental marginal profit. You know, obviously subtracting the food cost and the cost of those rewards that we're giving away by just like launching one campaign in the ad. So that shows you a huge. There's a possibility to launch those huge, powerful campaigns. And if you have that possibility, you really can survive. Those hard times. And the key question is how you ensure that huge conversion, because most of the time, most of the marketers, when they're launching their campaigns, they're getting, you know, especially with email and SMS and kind of older legacy channels, and actually with some push messages as well, they're getting, you know, 1% in conversion, which is extremely low. So some ideas of when do those acts of communication and when to strike the iron while it's hot. First of all, it's obviously for the gift for the first delivery order. It's the year for happy hours and double points. Like for example, when you have your couriers just like sitting out there without any business going on, and when you have like low times, off-peak hours, just, you know, come up with the double points, you know, happy hours type of promotion, and make sure that your couriers would be used in this particular time as well. Winning back lapsed customers who were used to order and then stopped ordering is extremely important. Again, especially considering those Gen Z and millennial customers who are more and more flexible in, you know, changing the brand. Also, automated bounce back coupon. It's extremely powerful, and the idea here is that when you succeed to get this first order from the customer, immediately after that, when the customer is already, strike the iron while it's hot, when the customer is engaged with the brand, send them like a coupon or like a compliment for the next order within the next 7 days immediately. And that works extremely well to make sure that you would get those following orders. So those are the examples of the ideas of those things, what you can do. And those things are actually not just ideas. All those things were implemented by all those brands that I was talking about in the beginning. And that led to them saving the revenue and not losing so much. So, but the key question here is how you make sure that you would get that huge conversion, 11%, 20%, even 30% sometimes, because that's the key. This conversion number really determines everything. Because if you have low conversion, nobody would order again. If you have a huge conversion, you have a tool to make sure you have a marketing magic. You know, you have marketing magic tool that really helps you to win those customers back and really just create money from almost nothing. So the secret sauce to that is to really understand the difference between just sending a push notification or just sending an email or SMS, and really following the 11 critical steps of launching those campaigns, and just like making all those steps, doing the right thing on all those 11 steps. Let me jump into that right away. So first of all, it's really paramount and important to look at the analytics, and don't ever launch your campaigns without looking at the data, without understanding who your customers are, what are the segments of your customer that you have with your customers, and really have a different communication for different channels and plan accordingly. So for example, what a lot of those successful brands were doing is that we're saying, okay, we will be sending something to lost customers, something to loyal customers to make them sure to order even more. And we have some target preferences customers, you know, some segments like, again, moms with kids, like some special segment like that, and they were planning accordingly. Also, it's very important to really respect the customer's preferences in your menu. So targeting based on purchase history is extremely important. Don't send a mouth-watering steak to a vegetarian. That wouldn't work quite well. Also, do some smart mechanics for campaigns and some triggers for those campaigns. So don't just like send them one message that one broadcast message to everyone. Make it smart. Make this message work when you have, when it works on certain days or like that. So make a visual appealing content in the app. And really the reason why Instagram is so successful is because people really kind of make their decisions a lot of times emotionally by looking at pictures. So pictures are extremely important. If you don't have, if in your communication you're not showing customer a beautiful picture, you would have like 3 times less the conversion, 3 times less conversion rate comparing to that other campaign with beautiful pictures. It's extremely important. Other thing, it's what every digital marketer, every experienced digital marketing would say to you is that don't just do this plain, digital ad, AdWords, Facebook ad campaign, just bringing your customers to your homepage of your website. That's that's kind of stupid, because lots of those customers would just be lost in in the weeds of your website. So that's why those digital marketers are coming up with landing pages. Landing pages are important because they're focusing you on the offer, on something concrete that they just like advertise to you right away. So that's the way to do digital marketing campaigns, is to do that through landing pages. So the same thing actually works for apps. And if you don't have a dedicated landing page for that particular customer, most likely you wouldn't have such a huge conversion. And it's just like it happens, most of the time when I'm seeing some apps on the market. Quite often, I just get this push message for me. That's good, that's great. But when I'm clicking on that push message, like the app just opens, and I don't know where the hell that offer is. Like, what should I do? And this really decreases the conversion rate. You could have the perfect menu, but the perfect service and everything perfect, but if you just don't follow those rules of customer digital communication, and you have to learn those rules in the digital age, you wouldn't just get those 11, 20% conversion rates for your campaign. So those things are extremely important, and we tested, made so many tests, A/B tests, to learn those things from those campaigns. Also, extremely important thing is reminders, because our statistics shows that the psychology of the customers, that most of the time, most of the customers are just like making their purchase at the last day of the campaign. So they're using their personalized reward, but only on the last day of the campaign, because that's just how the psychology of the customer works. They're not so organized all the time, and that's okay. But the key thing here, if you don't send that reminder at the last day of the campaign, you would most likely lose like 30 to 40% of your revenue from that campaign. And that's huge. That basically you're losing 30 to 40% of revenue from your marketing activities. So make sure you do send those reminders to those folks who haven't yet used the app. That's extremely powerful. Also, another critical point is so-called CTA, call to action. And again, that's a known thing for every digital marketer. Like, duh, if you're having a landing page for your digital marketing campaign, you absolutely have to have that clear call to action, like click here. That's what we want you to do. And for some reason, some of the brands who are launching their own digital channels, like apps, websites, they're just like not doing this thing. They're messing up with some promo codes that you have to enter somewhere. It is really not clear where should I do that. So the battle tested recipe that we found here is just show, when this push comes to the customer, just show them exactly this landing page with this special offer. And on this landing page, have this button says use the offer right now, which would immediately add this free position or like complement to the menu right away, without any kind of promo code entering like whatsoever. Just make it super simple like that. And those are the things which really increase the conversion. Then you have to fight for every percentage of conversion, because if you don't fight for those percentages, you wouldn't get any results close to that. And obviously all those nice graphs I was showing to you weren't just like, oh, they just like were sitting on their something and just waiting for those customers to come. No, those folks were actually working with the customer base. They were doing something in order to save that revenue, win those customers back. It won the huge piece of that puzzle. So, and having those coherent CTAs, call to actions, is one of the important pieces of the puzzle of launching great campaigns. Obviously, POS validation, it's quite important to make sure that everything is automated, and ROI analysis is also important as well. So what we see smart brands are doing is whenever they're launching a campaign, the first because of that they're thinking, before that they're thinking, okay, like what would be the ROI from that campaign? What's actually the math, like what's the formula for that campaign? How much money we're going to generate? How much money we're going to spend on those rewards? You have to acknowledge all of that before actually launching the campaign. And the last but not least is the automation. So when you have some campaign working quite well, it's a good idea to automate that, because if you automate that, you can automatically act at the right time, which is extremely important. And that's basically the main reason why people are launching, brands are launching mobile apps, because mobile app is basically the only channel that allows you to interact at the right place at the right time with the right customer. And most important thing here is at the right time, because on the app you're getting the push message and the offer at the right time. Not the same thing as with emails. Most of the people just reading them a week after the offer is already done. And I think many of you had such a similar experience for you interacting with some of the brands. With SMS, there is obviously an opportunity to act, to communicate at the right time, but most of the customers just really hate SMS, and it's becoming more and more difficult to have those mass SMS sent to customers, because government really starts to block all those things, and it's becoming harder and harder to do that. So extremely important point, strike the iron while it's hot, means communicate with the customers in a right way, and do that communication with the right, following the 11 critical steps of launching those campaigns. So eight point is, it's kind of obvious, but we still want to add that, is just really get expert support to make sure that you don't have just the right tool, but you also have to make it work in the right way. So what a lot of brands are doing is that they're investing in some kind of tech, and they're just like expect this tech to work on its own, which something that never happens. And the thing is that if you try to kind of come up with your own expertise on how to actually use that tech, most of the restaurants are just failing with that, unfortunately, because there are so many questions like how to use analytics, like to launch the right campaign. What's the right campaign mechanics here? What's the best loyalty program scheme to not bankrupt your business with loyalty? Which happens from time to time. Businesses are launching their app and they're launching this loyalty program, and they're just like bankrupting their business because of the very not effective loyalty program. And there is a right way to do that. It actually could be done quite easily if you do the right settings of the loyalty program. But the point here is, probably shouldn't be experimenting in such a hard times, experimenting with something that you didn't ever use before. So the point here is that it's not just about the tech; it's about the whole project that you're trying to solve, that you're trying to launch, and tech is just like one piece of the puzzle. So another ninth point is that really it doesn't matter how big your brand is; your loyal customers will be supporting you. So a lot of times we hear from restaurateurs something like, hey, okay, we want to launch this own delivery channel, we want to have this direct ordering, that's okay, but how the hell are we going to promote that? Because nobody would download our app. So how are we going to do that? And we're not Burger King, we don't have millions of dirhams that we can spend on advertising to advertise this app on TV or something. So what are you going to do? We're lost. And the fact is that actually what happens right now is there is a whole movement for so-called support local, which is customers really want you not to close. They really want to support you. So there are hashtags like support local or support local business, stuff like that. And more customers are posting with those hashtags. And there is a huge opportunity. That's actually really the fact is that all those businesses, all those customers are 10 times more supportive of local businesses comparing to those Burger Kings of the world, because they know, all those big guys are big anyway. So let us support those local brands which don't have, such a huge support, financial support, backing them. So the idea here is just to honestly say as it is to your customers, like, hey, you know what, we probably theoretically could be going out of business because of this crisis. It's kind of tough for restaurants. And if you guys really like our service, so you liked our food before, please consider ordering directly, because this way we would not be paying huge commissions. This way we would be ordering directly. We will be ensuring the safety of that delivery, which is kind of important right now. And you'll be getting some additional loyalty points if you order directly. So there are at least 3 reasons to order directly. So please order directly. And one of the main reasons is just help our business. And surprisingly, lots of actually not surprisingly, but a lot of customers are just reacting extremely positive to that. They will be sharing the news about your brand. They will be reposting your Facebook posts, Instagram stuff, whatever you were posting out there. If you honestly tell them, hey, please help us. That works incredibly well. And that again was one of the pieces of success for some of those brands which had some nice graph of growth, is they really were leveraging this support local movement. It's extremely important right now. So yeah, so easy example would be to launch a referral program, and which works again if you have a direct ordering channel. You just have this option in the app or on the website saying recommend to your friends, which you can obviously way easier to do in the app because you have WhatsApp and all those messengers, and also have easy access to social networks from the app. But main idea here is to just make sure your customers are telling everyone in the world about your brand, which happens, which will happen if you do the right thing. So it happened a lot with all those brands who were mentioning, and the case studies really show that this really brings new customers, which then are becoming an important part of your revenue stream, something around 10 or 50% sometimes. And one of the last points, but definitely not least, is really actively work with customers' feedback. So first of all, gather customers' feedback, analyze it, and get better. And the trick here is to really get all the possible customer feedback. And sometimes sometimes folks are just really not putting their feedback out there because it's just not convenient to get this feedback. You have to. The idea is to get feedback item like a star rating or preferably a comment from every single order, because lots of times customers just have those small things they really want to say to your brand. Those small things that may not be a huge problem, but if you're aggregating all those small things become huge in your revenue stream. Meaning huge impact. Those small things are making a huge impact on your revenue stream if they're all combined. If you're having one suggestion for this customer, one suggestion for that customer, and if you combine that all together and you're not fixing that, it can have a devastating effect on your revenue, because if you don't if you're not getting an awesome service, you're basically losing revenue. That's simple. So motivate your customers to share negative feedback, but with you directly, and avoid those folks posting negative feedback on public websites. You really want to encourage your customers to say negative stuff to you privately. So, and the reason is that those reviews, those negative reviews, are the most important things you should be thinking about, because when you work with that every review, when you reply to that negative reviews, when you're motivating those customers to return, you're winning them back, and you really understand what to improve in your brand. And really can't stress enough how important it is for brands who are actively launching their own direct delivery. Because lots of times I'm hearing those stories like, hey, we launched our app, but we have few downloads, and we have just few customers ordering, and we have number of lots of orders from the aggregator. So it's just like the app wouldn't work. Nobody wants our separate app or something like that, or separate chat bot message, and they just used to order for Talabat, and that's how it should be. So, but when we try to analyze like what really happened, we doing some surveys with those customers who, with a small number of customers who ordered through their app directly, we asked them, hey, like how we performed with your order, and those customers saying, oh, that was terrible. We have all the food messed up with the delivery. We have our courier late. It wasn't polite. and this is a problem. That was the issue with the packaging and all this stuff. And those those brands then saying, oh, like, holy crap, we weren't even getting that feedback initially. And they're realizing that the problem is not that customers wouldn't be downloading the app. The problem is that customers wouldn't be ordering for the app. The problem is that they were just like doing some mistakes of organizing their own delivery channel, and it just did something wrong. Some things wrong. They maybe had some bugs in the app or something, some issues with the payment provider, whatever it is, and so they just suffered because of that. So a lot of examples we have, again, among those customers who are winning, is that they're working carefully with the feedback, with the negative feedback of the customer, and they're replying to that. They're giving them some points as a compliment, and more stories like that they have, the more revenue they're protecting. And it's extremely important when you're just launching with a new app or with new service for direct ordering, is to embrace that negative feedback and just acknowledge it and work on that to improve. That's extremely important. So to summarize, here we came up with this secret sauce slide for the solution to come out as a winner in COVID times. So just to summarize everything that I just shared. First of all, one of the key points is own the relationship with your customer. If you don't have that, nothing else. It's you could forget about everything else. If you don't have that, it's ruined. So first, try to build some communication channel that will be owned by you, not the aggregator. Obviously, focus on habit-forming ordering experience. If you have a less than awesome ordering experience, people wouldn't buy from you; they would buy from aggregator, because aggregators has great ordering experience. That's for sure. So we have to at least be at least be as good as them. So it's really important. Follow all those suggestions for the great customer experience. Also, the next device, adjust your product. Make the magic, gather up, team up with your chef and make them do their own magic to adjust for the quarantine times. Don't expect to just put your existing menu on those delivery channels and just expect magic to happen. It wouldn't happen. You have to adjust your menu to those conditions. We shared some of the advice there. Also, demonstrate the safety of your delivery and share this positive social proof, again, through those, support local stuff and things like that. There is nothing really more important for your customers to really understand that the delivery would be safe. And that's actually one of the things that you could use for your advantage, trying to convert those aggregator users to your own delivery users, because you can say, if you're delivering with our own delivery, we're using our own fleet of couriers, and we can't guarantee the safety. You can dress them with special form that kind of conveys confidence. You could give them masks, or you could just post updates like, hey, here is our kitchen, we're like sanitizing everything, here are our couriers. Some of the brands were even measuring the temperature of each courier before they were giving away food, giving a food package. That was extremely smart, and that worked quite well, because then after those businesses were making some surveys with the customers they were asking, hey, what's the most important thing for you? Why you ordered from us directly? And customers are saying it's safe. One of the top reasons for customers ordering directly, it's safe. It's safe to order from you. So don't underestimate the importance of this point. Then automate the process. Again, I would say that would be true for like a bigger chains, maybe starting from 10 or more locations, or maybe 5 locations. But it's really important to all those pieces of the puzzle to work together. The app, the POS system, the courier integration, courier software, all those things should be working together, and there should be less human errors in this process. Also, do personalized compliments. As I said, with this smart marketing that you have to do to increase those numbers of orders, do personalized compliment instead of doing discounts all in. And that's what some brands are doing, looking on those aggregators and they're saying those aggregators are pushing those discounts, so we probably should do the same in order to get those orders. Wrong. That's not the way to do. Strategically, that's a very bad way. I think we all learned that from our Groupon, type of huge discounts experience, that discounts would not work well strategically. It discounts your brand, so don't do that. So do some personalized compliments instead, which would work as sometimes 3 times more powerful than those discounts, and you'll be spending 5 times less than comparing to giving those discounts. So think about that. Gather direct customer feedback and apologize for your mistakes, especially in the beginning when you're launching your own direct ordering channel or promoting that heavily. Launch referral programs to make your loyal customers really promote your brand and act as advocates for your brand. Get support from your local customers, heavily interacting with your customers in social networks with support local friend. Again, the suggestion is just that why don't just have an honest post from the founder of the brand saying, hey guys, I'm the founder of this brand. You were ordering from us for quite a long time. And please support us because we're almost about to close if we will not meet our if not enough people will be ordering directly, and that's what we need to do. And just ask them to do that, rationalize here the reasons to do that for us directly, and ask them to repost, like repost your like retweet or something your direct message. That helped a lot with a lot of those brands. Give incentive for the first order, because that's one of the hardest things to really make sure that they would do this first order. Give some rewards for different marketing channels. For example, you can give a personalized reward for advertising on this channel, on that channel, and give, for example, different promo codes for different first time rewards, which is a smart idea. Also, obviously, strike the iron while it's hot with automated campaigns, with acting at the right time with the right customer. And last but definitely not least, it's get this expert support to make sure that the tech actually would bring you revenue and the ROI, which is again a huge mistake. Sometimes brands are just like launching this chat bot or something, and they're just saying, okay, like we're not getting too many orders, so the tech doesn't work. The fact is that the tech wouldn't work if that's just one piece of the puzzle. As you see here, this thing is not just one piece individually. It's the whole puzzle. And if you're not doing one piece of the puzzle, like for example, you do all those pieces together, but you're not demonstrating the safety of your thing, and customers have that concern about safety, nothing would work. And you could have ideal, automated marketing thing. You could have your everything integrated, like 100%, but you're not demonstrating safety of the product, it will be doomed. Or you didn't adjust your menu, or you have everything, but you're not leveraging those personalized compliments to get those smart marketing results, huge conversions. Everything would not work as it should. So it's a secret sauce, and not just one solution to one silver bullet in the screen. So that's what we suggest to do, is to really focus on this whole thing, and we'll be happy to share this this picture for you guys. So if you guys want to learn more, you could ask for like a personal consultation for us to share more case studies and figure out how the secret sauce would work for you. And for me, just in case, I'm mostly more focused with really big projects and doing more and more like a big huge enterprise projects all over the world. But in case you guys are like a small innovative brand, really trying to find a way, really fighting for those challenges, even in that case, I would be happy to maybe invest 30 minutes to for a quick consultation, help you guys if you see that this thing doesn't work out for some reason. So we'll be happy to help. Even in the case you would never ever work with Loadzipline on any of those companies, we'll still be happy to help, because that's what we care about, to help those awesome innovators to really take their businesses to the next level. So feel free to reach out to me. But that's really the most important message of this presentation, is really to suggest this secret sauce for you guys to follow those advices. And this is again all based on our experience of launching those projects all around the world. So I'd like to end with this with the thing that I've started this presentation, which is about what we fight for, what we care about, and hopefully with support of those thoughts and maybe our team, no innovator on the restaurant market would ever go out of business because of this scary COVID thing happening. And that's what we're fighting for day and night today. And hopefully not even the question for you would be not just to survive or not, but really coming up out of this as a winner. Because if you see some brands are just closing down, giving up, if you're not giving up, you're reaping the benefits of this crisis if you're actually coming up as a winner out of this, which is the right thing to do if you're also an innovator. So hopefully this whole thing helps, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Besides that, thanks so much for your attention, and good luck with your business overcoming all those challenges. And have a great day.